25 years ago the Braer oil tanker ran on the rocks off the Shetland Isles in storm force winds, spilling nearly 85,000 tons of wet petroleum. The skipper and team of the ship were airlifted to safety by chopper following its engines unsuccessful, and it became precise the calamity was inevitable. It hit rock in Quendale Gulf, fair western of Sumburgh Chief, on the southward tip of Shetland, fair up afternoon on January 5, 1993. On to WWF Scotland, at low 1,500 bird dead and up to a block of the regional grey print people was struck. But the weather bounded the complete degree of the harm as lot of the oil was swept out to ocean. The Gulfix wet how the Braer was transport was as well cigarette lighter and more than readily biodegradable rather than some polar sea crudes. The Alaskan oil shed had inflicted a destructive ecological calamity. M.R. Will says, "We were waiting the lowest but it did not very occur. The breeze blew the oil off. The at first mark the Braer was in risk had go at 5:19 while the Coast Guard was said the oil tanker, that was travelling among Norway and Canada, had loose force in a tempest 10 miles southward of Shetland. The position rapidly degraded, and by 9 o'clock fears were grown how the Braer would run on the rocks close Equine Holm, an isle close Sumburgh Chief. Instead of, the present transferred the vessel in Quendale Bay wherever it foundered and breached, spilling 84,700 tons of oil in the ocean. The 800 FOOT ship had been constructed in Japan in 1975 and did not include the more than contemporary dual housing that would include lessened the opportunity of an petroleum spillage. Down there were main inquiries, consisting one by Lord Donaldson, that looked at the calamity and how it could be avoiding in next. M.R. Will says mistakes were done, such as driving all the team off the vessel and not producing them behind while it had skipped the rock to get a link of the again arrived save tugboat. M.R. Will says, which happened was how the vessel nearly hit a big away-lying fate and down there was a really valiant save for that the Coast Guard was never praised correctly. They took all the team off and mundane them on the beach and the police force took the team to a inn. Later the vessel skipped the fate and the skipper of the vessel, who I interviewee in Greece several years after, tested desperate, in the Coast Guards, to get his team behind on executive board but the police force would not produce his team since down there was a mess above orders. M.R. Will says the hazard of aground is lot reduced these days since of technique that keeps human beings aware of the statute of all tankers. He as well says the present of a save tug located in the polar of Scotland is a nice way of avoiding a next calamity. A paper in the Calamity, published in 1994, told bad weather was substantially to accuse for the crash. But it as well convicted the actions of the vessel's skipper, Alexandros Gelis, someone, it told, shown a basic absence of main sea practice. By October 1995 a full of £45 meter had been paid out in reimbursement but a standstill on payments was later superimposed as the World Oil Contamination Foundation neared its range of £50 meter. In April 2001, Jim Wallace, Permissive Democrat MP for Orkney and Shetland named for the investigation in the calamity to be de-opened among claims the vessel had been unsuitable to sailing. 25 years on, WWF Scotland believes the chase of polar sea oil continues to put Scotland's living nature in risk. Operating CEO Dr. Sam Gardner told, 25 years on the extended chase of oil of always more than stimulating environments tool how not just does Scotland's gem sea environmental stay at hazard but we are as well making ourselves to refueling hazardous environment changing. WWF Scotland believes the UK by the government should pursue the sample set by France, that recent monthly gunna law designed to end oil and gas manufacture by 2040. Louise O'Hara Murray, Environmental Officer for Production Flesh Oil and Gas UK, told consumer demand for oil would growth above the following 10 years. Same UK oil and gas production conducted its responsibilities for the environmental very severely, she told.